Greetings and thank you for joining us here at Inmates For Change. My name is Jones. I'm the founder, CEO of the 501c3 not-for-profit Inmates For Change. We work along the lines of reentry for individuals who have felony convictions and are returning home from incarceration, and those of us who are in the community and have not successfully reintegrated back into family, community, society, and corporate America. The Inmates For Change organization offers a 12-week curriculum entitled Path to Purpose, where it's a rehabilitative education initiative where we teach critical thinking, interpersonal interaction, self-image, spiritual connectedness, God consciousness, relationships. We do behavior modification, lifestyle change, and there's also linkage to vocational training. Now, tonight I've got a guest. This is Mr. Jacob Obriecht. Mr. Obriecht is a former client of Inmates For Change, and as you see, he's gone on to become more successfully reintegrated back into corporate America, and he's also, well, I'm gonna let him tell you. I'm just gonna let him tell you. First of all, how you doing, Jacob?
I'm well, thanks,
Thanks
Jones.
for coming on board.
Thank you.
Looking like the Godfather. You kind of look like Vito Corleone, don't he, man? For real. Let's get right into it. What are some of the perceived challenges you had to face while reentering society, Jacob?
Well, upon re-entering, one of the biggest challenges was finding employment.
Okay.
It was difficult. I felt I was hopeless for a little while. I had to overcome having a background. It was difficult, but I was successful in the end. I took some rejection, but I had to get over it and move forward, and eventually found something I really enjoy.
So, were you perceiving those challenges before you started your reentry process, or were you hopefully going to just land a position once you came out to apply somewhere? How did it go for you?
Well, my expectations were set a little bit too high. I had to readjust them, which I was able to do. It took time and it took a lot of mental preparation, but I got over it.
Okay. Now, I'd like to get a little deeper into how did you prepare yourself, because Inmates For Change, we're dedicated to breaking the bondage of destructive thinking. So I know some of these lifelong habits of your process of thinking played a major part in the negative components that are variables throughout any kind of situation when you're coming in. You know, do I have a stick-to-itness? Do I really want to tell the truth about what my background is like and this kind of thing? So how were you able to overcome some of those destructive impulses?
Well, for me, it was a lot about persistence.
Okay.
Not ever giving up. It was setting goals and following them. I have lofty goals, but it's important to bring them down to something I can do in a day. For example, today I'm going to apply to 10 jobs, and I'm going to do research as far as interviewing skills.
Okay.
And making them obtainable things I can do in one day helped me to get to bigger goals in the end.
Okay, that's it. And now, as I understand, you're gainfully employed.
Yes, sir.
Can you give us just a little bit of what you do? Not where you work, but what type of position do you have? What's the title of the position you're in?
Well, I'm a sales associate
With
with an energy company.
An energy company.
Yes.
So he's a sales associate with an energy company, which is that's a pretty high level position. You know, a lot of guys, when they come through, when we first start with the initial intake with Inmates For Change, guys are just looking for a job. And I tell these guys, I can't help you find a job. You know, we try to do career-oriented. Let me say it for the third time, for real this time. Career-oriented employment. Something that you can rest your hat on. Something that you can save at. Put your kids through school. Purchase a house. Take a vacation. That kind of thing. So those who come through and they're looking for a job, we try to help modify the behavior, improve your self-image. We want to make sure that you're looking more higher than just give me a job. You know, I just want a job. I just want a job. Those of you who would like to join our conversation, we're at 312-738-1060. Jake, I've got another question for you psychologically. How did you prepare yourself?
Preparation was tough. It was a daily routine. It requires a daily reprieve of asking for help.
Did you find that kind of hard in the early go?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's difficult, especially for men, to ask for help. I had to admit that I didn't know what I was doing. And, I was lucky enough to find places, especially like Inmates for Change, that were willing to help.
Okay. Thanks for the plug right there. I really appreciate it. That's good. Speaking of Inmates for Change, those of you who would like to get in touch with us Monday through Friday, let me just give you an idea of what we're doing here. You can be reaching us at 773-746-3075. That number is active from 9:30 a.m. until 3:30 p.m. Monday through Friday. The website will be up again. Believe me, it failed again. I think I'm going to have to find a better guy. But when it's up, it's inmatesforchange.org. And for those of you who want to email with a few questions or concerns or issues or something that's happening inside of your life, inmatesforchange@gmail.com. Of course, maybe my IT man is watching and me saying I'm going to get another guy. I mean it. I mean it. What kind of programs or organizations help to ease your transition, Jacob?
Well, in particular, I stayed at a shelter for a while.
Okay.
It was great. It provided me with some things that I could not provide for myself at the time. And that's how I used it. Again, it was asking for help, and I was given it. And I'm very grateful for what I was given, and it changed my life.
Oh, man. Were those, was the shelter in Chicago?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, it was.
I'm going to tell you something. Now, I see at least 100 clients a year, right? And you're about the first one I heard that said it was great in a communal setting, that it was great.
Well, I found, especially in that type of environment, anybody can tell you a laundry list of things that they don't like, and I want to be separate and different in a good way. I was making a gratefulness list every day of things that I was happy to have, specifically things that were given to me that I couldn't give myself.
And that leads me right to this next question. Because when I hear that, with the preparation, looking at your thinking process, maybe even journaling a little bit, coming to speak with Jones from time to time, even though you'd heard this rumor about how tough he is and how he doesn't like anybody. And what would you consider to be the responsibility of the formerly incarcerated individual upon his reentry?
Well, I think it's my responsibility to be a good example. I don't want to be a bad example and reaffirm the prejudices against felons. It's important for me to be happy, joyous, and free, not break the law, and live an honest and good life. That way I'm not negatively reinforcing those prejudices.
Well, I'm going to step in and be the devil's advocate right here. I know that sounds kind of hokey to some of my viewers, but it works, doesn't it, man?
It does. Sometimes it's going through the motions and not exactly wanting to, but eventually it comes around.
Oh, yeah.
Bring the body and the mind will follow.
Sounds like y'all heard that somewhere before. You're stealing a page out of my notebook there, right? Those of you who would like to call in and join the conversation with either a comment or a question, we can be reached at 312-738-1060. Tonight's guest is a former client of the Inmates For Change organization, Mr. Jacob Obriecht. And as you can see, he's a successful reintegration, coming through the program and sticking to the discipline that it takes and the focus of the mind that you need to overcome these obstacles. Once we get out into the world, as we call it, once we come out of the program, I tell my clients all the time, I say, what you do in here is going to show out there. What you don't do in here is going to show out there. And it's just great to have a shining example of an individual like Jacob here to come on board. And where you living, like Oak Park now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he came all the way out from public transportation. So that says a lot for me, that I'm feeling that through God that I'm reaching individuals who have made a sacrifice throughout his, I know you work today, right?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah. Coming home on the bus and then coming out here to give something back. This is what it's about. This is what we call breaking the bondage of destructive thinking. Because so many of us will be like, man, I'm not coming over there. I'm not trying to be over there and see that, man. Where you at? No, I ain't doing it. So that's going to take us to this next question, and that'll be, I was going to ask this question earlier, but I decided to take it down. In your opinion, how can the formerly incarcerated help change public policy? Let me explain what I mean. Public policy has it now where individuals feel that anyone who has a criminal record or felony conviction, they are persona non gratis. They also feel that you can't trust a ex-offender or an individual who has a criminal background. He may have had a little indiscretion in his life 10 years ago. I've been home 8 years, but still the perspective and the perception is there through the public policy. How do you feel, in your personal opinion, what we can do to change public policy about the formerly incarcerated?
Well, I think it's important to lead by example.
Okay.
And it's more than that. It's not shying away from my past. I don't want to shut the door on it. I can use the negative things that I did and that happened to me to try and help somebody who's having something similar happen to them.
That's exactly right. As a teaching tool.
Exactly.
You teach them as a teaching tool, because one of the things that happens with our demographic is a lot of us think that we're unique, that none of us understand exactly what an individual is going through. I'm in my 60s, so I tell my clients, I did what you're doing 40 plus years ago. So if anyone can tell you how to successfully transition, how to go from a number to a name, that's what we do at Inmates for Change.
That was particularly important for me, seeing that somebody else was where I was and that they made it through okay. They had something that I wanted, and so I clung to that. I made sure that I got as much information as I could from them about what they did that I could use to get where they are.
And that's what works. That persistence and the mindset that you will not be denied. I can tell you honestly, Jacob and I have had easy. I'm normally allowed to give like 15 to a half an hour, 15 minutes to a half an hour per consultation or one-on-one, as we call it in the industry. I think he's clocked easy 120 hours, something like that. He made full use of the one-on-ones while he and I were able to interact with each other while he was coming through the program. So what activities have you been involved with since your release, Jacob?
Well, I spent a lot of my time mentoring people with similar issues.
Okay.
Particularly men between the ages of 25 and 45 with alcohol and drug problems.
Any particular reason why you chose that segment of the demographic?
Well, that's the demographic I'm in. They seem the most receptive to this kind of help. They're not generally too far gone, and they're able to listen and absorb what is being said.
That is so cool. That is so cool. I hope one day I'm able to come over as maybe a guest or something to that effect, to speak to your group, and at least if it's two guys, let's get the talk going, because we need to connect more with others so that we know that we're not by ourselves out there. We have a thing in the industry where a lot of organizations and individuals are working in silos. We're not interconnected like we need to be. And I've said on this show in a previous episode, we need to take a page from the notebook of the women's rights and the handicapped and the LGBT community and see how they put together their strategic organizational planning and advocacy, and now they've gotten these human rights. So, we see the change in the policy that's happening as a result of the numbers. And as ex-offenders, we are easy 30 million strong across the nation. So, and I believe that's a conservative estimate. So with that, we are, we need to start trying to connect with each other. And I'm glad to hear that you're doing that kind of work out there. I really am, man. That really, really feels good to know that you not only moved past what we were offering at Inmates for Change, but you're taking what we have, making it work, and you're doing what you're doing with it to help empower another individual that's coming through. So congratulations on that.
I'm happy to say, it's become my life's work, is trying to help people where I was. Initially, my whole life I was very, very selfish.
Yeah, I remember.
It wasn't too long ago. But yeah, it's totally flipped 180. My life today is about helping people, and
That-
that's what I get the most out of.
That is some amazing stuff. I would imagine you would possibly be along the lines of spiritual connectedness, God consciousness with that. I know to go from selfish to service, that's a calling. Something has to come in. We've got a caller on the line, Jacob. Do you mind if I take it?
No, absolutely.
Okay. Caller, tell us who you are and what your comment or your question is, please.
Yes, sir. This is Ray.
Hey, Ray.
Friend. You know what gets me? You two guys are the perfect example what could happen. I'm tired of people always saying, well, he was too young. It's overcrowded. It's this, it's that. Never. They had the same chance you had. But you know what gets me? They know third strike against them, and what do? They disregard that and go and do it anyway. So whose fault is that? It sure isn't the correctional facility's fault. It's your fault. So put the blame on the blame. But I want to tell you this, and this is from the heart. I want to wish you and the gentleman with you a very Merry Christmas and a safe and happy New Year's.
Thanks,
Thank
Jacob.
you guys. Got a great show.
Thanks, Jacob. Thanks, Ray.
Thank you.
You know something, that's a heartfelt comment. And if it's okay with you, first of all, let me say thank you for the complimentary salutation. To God be the glory in my case, and I'm sure I'm echoing the same sentiments that my guest Jacob Obriecht has with that. Also, we need to get more involved with our youth, so that they can have something to look forward to, so they don't end up being just as involved, getting caught up in the court system, going to and from the prison industrial complex and right back to the neighborhood and that kind of thing. So it's going to take some time, and it does take time, but it also takes the effort of the individual as well. I've mentioned many times, I see about 100 clients a year, and it's dismally low with the success rate that we have because of the mindset of the demographic. I'm somewhere around 6%, of 100. So to me, that's dismally too low. But it is what it is, and it can get better. As we know, we've got Mr. Obriecht here, and he's a shining example of what we're trying to provide as well as what we're able to produce. Now, those of you who would like to get in touch with us, we're at 773-746-3075. That's the Inmates For Change phone. That phone is open from 9:30 a.m. until 3:30 p.m. Monday through Friday. Our email is inmatesforchange@gmail.com. And I believe sometime after Christmas, we will have the website up and running at full strength, and we won't have any of these technical difficulties. So stay with us, keep in touch, and make sure that you take a look at us or email us, one or the other. Give us a call, take a look, or give us email us. Now, Jacob, I've got another question for you, if it's all right with you.
Absolutely.
Okay. How has the Inmates For Change organization been involved with you and your transition through the reentry process?
Now, Jones, I think you might know this. I didn't particularly care for you when I first met.
Yeah, I know. I didn't like you much either.
I thought you were very rigid, very followed the rules to a T. Some of them I didn't understand why they were in place. And I thought I was doing everything right, but you made it clear to me that I was not, and it was pretty cut and dry. I was not following all the rules. What I had learned from Inmates For Change is it's not so much that I understand the rule, it's that I look at the consequence if I don't follow the rule. It definitely is thinking before I act. What can happen if I do this? And generally, the consequences are not worth the payoff.
There you go. Now that really opens it up for me, man. I'll tell you, we've got about 6 minutes to go, So what I'm going to do here is let me just give you all some background on how Jacob and I met. He was at one of the big house shelters. I call them the big house because these organizations are larger than some of the other smaller ones that are not the big house like the penitentiary. And when he came in, he was just resistant. In a lot of ways, he felt that he was smarter than we were, and he kind of took the program a little lighter than I think he should have. So what happened was he was testing the water, because we have to understand that an individual is going through a lifelong process of these thinking disorders. Now, I've got some kind of time like this, which is a 90-day period, to work with you. And hopefully you can get something that you can use to improve and motivate yourself to empower your life. Coming on early is tough. Like any exercise, any type of relationship, it's kind of choppy in the beginning. It's growing pains, or what we call it in a relationship. Exercise, and if those of you who are out there who have started an exercise program, and you know how you feel after that first 2 or 3 days, you're feeling like, I don't know if I want to keep going through this, and then be aware, some of the commercials that show these people who are working on these apparatuses, to get themselves in shape, they're in great shape already. So the thing it takes is you've got to have some persistence. You've got to have discipline. You need to have focus. You also need to be able to overcome the fear of telling someone what you don't know. We all want to try to give the impression that we know everything, and we have a saying in the AANACA industry: your best thinking is what got you here. So thinking that we're some type of criminal genius or some super smart type of addict, or anywhere along that realm of labeling, when you come into organization like Inmates For Change, and we start initiating the program curriculum to you, I make it nice and easy for you at the front end of it. I'm giving you conversation that's at street level type of verbiage. There's some swearing in the class, I'll be honest to say it. And progressively over the course of time, like 2 weeks in, the conversation starts raising. We start using better words. We start using more corporate-minded verbiage. We start having individuals to interact with each other on a more respectful and congenial level, being courteous. So that's the type of thing that we do here. And then today, I'm sitting right next to one of our graduates, and it's great to hear that he's doing well. He's got strong aspirations for becoming something else. When something is not going right, he still picks up the phone and he calls, and he lets us, he talks with me mostly. I gave him my personal number, where he calls in and he's, dropping some questions off on me to hear how to plot what his aspirations are. He wants to get the strategic, and a lot of times he wants to make sure that what he's doing is already right. And it's not like I have all the answers, but I've been a lot of places and I've done a lot of things. So there's information that I can give across that you can grab it and hold on to it and take it and make it become something that is going to be fruitful, or you can decide to do something else at another time. So however it works is fine. Now let me ask you this. We're about to wrap up in a little bit. Is there anyone out there that you want to say hi to?
Yeah, my family. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad.
Ain't that
Hi, Max
something?
and Ben.
Yeah. Look at them. You're on TV, Mom. Well, that's great, man. I'm going to tell you this. In all seriousness, one of the things that I would like to ask you is, what was the one, if you can, what is the one most important thing that happened for you that made all of this happen?
Well, to put it bluntly, I wish I could expand more. It's a spiritual experience.
A spiritual experience.
It happened to me slowly over time, but it came, and it changed my life.
It changed his life, and that's amazing. That's why I say all the time, to God be the glory. The program that we have is a nice program, but it is spiritually involved, and it's also initiated by the Spirit. So we don't do a whole lot of trying to do a lot of Bible thumping and that type of thing, which works fine for those of you who have that type of mindset. But at Inmates For Change, we're working on that program. I'd like to give a little quick note right now. This program has been made possible in part by support from the Mobile Doc. My name is Jones. This is my guest, Mr. Jacob Obriecht, and we would like to say thank you for joining us tonight on Inmates For Change.
Thank you.